Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Matt, the lumberjack landlord. How you doing, buddy?
I am super excited to be here. It's Tuesday, long weekend, trying to
Yeah,
really ease my way into things. So hitting it off this way on a Tuesday, I love it.
I love it. Well, hey, one of the things we need to talk about is really kind of a two-step function. I don't think there's any question that inventory is going to be rising in lots of things. Obviously, we talk about real estate all the time. I don't think it's any secret that inventory is going up. My buy box has doubled in 6 weeks. We saw retail earnings from Walmart and Target and Abercrombie and Fitch and many others talking about inventory up. So one of the things that we need to talk about now is we need to translate inventory going up, what might happen, and could there be deflation around the corner? And we'll talk about maybe by the fall. This is obviously a topic that Kathy Wood has been talking about for quite a while, that what we are going through is kind of a snap. And on the other side of this is massive deflation. So where do you come down on this? You know, inventory leading to a massive deflation as soon as the fall.
Too fast.
Yeah.
Potentially, but just too fast. I think we've seen, inventories, while they've increased 6 weeks, right? They're not going to double again in 6 weeks.
No.
They might go up the same rate.
Right. Which like 500. Yeah. So we'll go up 50. Yeah. I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Because if we look at what happened, like with foreclosures back in 8, 9, and 10, it was kind of consistently like 250 to 300. And sometimes there were ups and sometimes there were downs, but it was kind of consistently in that range. I think largely we'll start to see that happen, and it's already started happening in a number of markets. My market is for my buy box is up 300% in 2 weeks.
Wow.
We went from 1 to 3.
Well, so that's why you got all these channels talking percentages, right?
Right. Exactly.
Inventory up 300%.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I get the shock value of that. But again, it went from making one bad decision or one opportunity to make a bad decision to 3 opportunities to make a bad decision because they're all outrageously overpriced.
Yeah.
Like at least 20% over what they would appraise for or comp at, like what 20% over. So I like what we always talk about, which is that's a wish price, not a real price. And so long as you're dialing it back and looking at the sales figure, you'll see that there's still an increase over last year. Yeah. So I think on the deflation side, I think that it's tough to make those calls because we don't know what the Fed's going to do. We don't know what the government's going to do. We don't know what new rules there are going to be. So I think it's tough to make those calls. Yeah. I think the best call at this point to make is that there's an ever shifting market. I think that people should still be doing the work every single day to make sure that they're seeing exactly what's occurring in their market. But I think deflation by the fall, Mike, we're talking 3 months.
Yeah.
September's the fall. Come on, like 3 months and all of a sudden we're going to go from inflation to deflation. And there is the whipsaw. I'm going to take your word for it on the Abercrombie thing. Because they haven't made a pair of pants that I've fit in since I was about 13 years old. So that ain't happening for me. I just go and I test out how big my arms are when I put their leg,
that's the leg in, it doesn't fit.
I'm just like, it gets stuck at the calf here every single time. So what I think is really interesting is I think there is that whipsaw effect. I'm seeing that in construction products too.
Yeah.
Lumber's coming down quite significantly. We're less than half of where we were at the peak.
Yeah.
So
I think there's really, when you talk about deflation and then you talk about the fall, you're right, 3 months away. So as an economist, as somebody who's looked at CPI in detail, it's kind of how it breaks it apart. I think there is every chance that some aspects of CPI show negative numbers, AKA are deflationary. I think clothing is a great example.
Yeah.
I think what we are seeing when you read Target and Walmart and others, right? Kohl's, and there's a whole list of 5 or 6 companies, retail companies, that saw inventories explode 30 to 50%. That's a problem. Yep. So I think there will certainly be some aspects of CPI that will be deflationary. They will be line items, not entire categories.
Yes.
I think some of that can move quickly. When you step back and you look at the larger asset of real estate, which is what I've looked at for 20 some odd years,
Sure.
it just doesn't move that fast.
Yeah.
Right? For heaven's sakes, a natural transaction, i.e. contract to closing, let alone listing to closing,
Right.
is 60 days.
Right.
Right?
Sure.
You go into contract today, there's a good chance it doesn't even record for 60 days.
Correct.
So to call deflation in real estate by the fall or 100 days from now it's just way too fast.
Nope.
It's just way too, yeah. Prices don't correct that fast.
No.
If you were going to talk about, now nobody ever talks this way because transactions aren't deflationary. But if you wanted to tell me real estate transactions would be down 20% by the fall,
Absolutely.
I could get behind that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
100%. I think it's going to be faster than that. I think transactions are going to fall faster than that. So, in looking at my market, I saw a property that went on for, I think it was 619.
Mm-hmm.
Wish price.
Yeah.
They still got 6.
Wow.
Now, that 6 is like 27% higher than a year ago.
Jeez.
So all I'm going to say is wish price, actualized price.
Yes. It's a comp now.
Right. That's now a comp. And the problem is that, still appraisers, they have a difficult job in that regard with a fast moving market. Fast moving either way makes an appraiser's job really difficult.
Yeah.
But I've seen stuff not appraise out, but I've also seen stuff where I was just like, how did they get there? Like that number's nuts. But to your point, it becomes a comp.
Yeah. So when we look at deflation longer term, which is, I think, what more like we should talk, I believe if you're going to talk about deflation in CPI or in housing, you really got to look out at least 6 months.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. If we were talking spring of 2022 or 2023, gosh, getting old. That's probably an interesting conversation. Certainly summer of 2023. But yeah, I think there's a lot of hopium. Yeah. I think there's just a lot of people that hope real estate crashes like tomorrow. And unfortunately, transactions can crash that fast. Look at new homes, right? 17% in 30 days. That's a crash.
Sure.
But it wasn't price, right? It's just, it's real estate's much slower than that. But in the end, I certainly hope CPI comes down. Let me kind of close with this. CPI is way too high, 8.3. I hope it comes down. There will be components of it coming down, but there will be others like food and gas that are going up. So it's not getting better for a lot of folks. I wish I could tell you I thought it was. Nothing would make me happier than saying inflation is breaking, because I've been that kid who didn't have food, who packed up his, all his toys in one suitcase and was a weekend from moving. I remember that. And I know there's some just uncomfortable conversations going on and thoughts, and moms and dads crying over their checkbook because they don't have money to buy food and all of that. We had a cocaine and Red Bull fueled 2 years, stimmy checks and stimulus and all of this stuff rained down, and monetary policy was drunk, and unfortunately the price is inflation. So I don't see deflation in 90 days. I don't see it by the fall. I certainly don't see it in housing. Housing doesn't move that fast. I do see transactions adjusting very quickly. We have destroyed demand. I think we've destroyed supply as well. So that's my thoughts on deflation by the fall. Any closing thoughts, and where can people find you?
They can find me Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and on Instagram. And I think my only closing thought is I think that where we're different than the posers who talk about this stuff that don't do it. Yeah. Is that, we're going to have other videos today. They're going to talk about exactly what we did and kind of take people through that and how we prepared. If you don't know how we prepared, look at any of the 7,000 videos that Mike's done on his channel, but especially in the last 6 months. We did a lot of things preparing for this exactly. We're not talking our book when we say that the market's not going to crash. We're actually talking the opposite of our book, but we're happy to do that because we're just telling you what we think is coming based on our experiences and what we're doing day to day.
Yeah. And let's not be confused. You and I are in the market for lots of things, right? We own some rental properties, right? Over 300 combined.
Just a few.
And I don't know. I bet you our combined spend on expenses in a month or just on capital, right? Fencing and windows and all that stuff's got to be 6 figures combined.
Yeah.
I'm always in the
Oh,
business, and I can tell you
yeah.
a fence. I just did a new fence. It was smaller than the one I did last year, but not by much. Was about 40% off. Lumber's cheaper,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
that's deflationary.
We were $8,000 on a roof, and now we're 6,400 on that same roof. So yeah, and we had a bunch of stuff that we quoted out kind of last year when we could kind of looked at, and so yeah, definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
I concur. Yeah.
Very cool. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.